Susan's here, Danielle's here, Rufus is here. And I don't see the kindergarten people here yet, so if they're not here, we'll go by report.
Are you by yourself tonight to speak?
I don't know if she'll make it.
Okay.
Both parents showed up for the conference, so when it's time, I'll go. If Jenny's here, great.
Okay.
If not, I'll speak for her. I have her notes.
Okay.
Good.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Fairmont Area School Board. It is Tuesday, September 13, 2016. For roll call, Danielle Schutz is present, myself, Nicole Green, Dan Brookins, Rufus Rodriguez, Dell Ellis, and Julie Lowy are not with us this evening. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have before us the minutes from our previous school board meeting.
I would make a motion to accept those minutes as offered.
Thank you, Dan. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rufus. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor to approve the August 23rd, 2016 school board meeting minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. We have the agenda before us. There are just a couple of changes under celebrations and school and community reports. We will be hearing from our elementary school regarding our new kindergarten pilot project. And we will not be hearing from Danielle regarding the CER Advisory Council meeting. Any other changes? Thank you. I entertain a motion to approve.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Rufus. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to our celebrations and school and community reports. Principal Rosen.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us. My kindergarten teachers right now are actually doing back-to-school conferences, which you might be saying to yourself, that was last week. Why would kindergarten be doing them now? Well, this year we decided to try a pilot start for our kindergarten program. So this year, the kindergarten teachers are participating in this pilot program, and it's basically the start of the year. We know how starting things is the most important part of school, the experience, and we want to make sure we make that start for our kindergarten, some of our youngest learners in our building, as best as we can. So what they did is, we've always done the summer kinder prep program, which is any kindergartner entering into the kindergarten, but it's for all of Fairmont area schools. So we do have some that come from St. John Vianney, some that come from St. Paul's, and it gives us a little taste of who our kindergarten students are, what kind of needs they have, what kind of academic needs they have, social needs they have, what strengths they come, what areas we need to address. But since it's not just all of our kids that are coming to the program, and it's not required, so we miss several kids, we wanted to try a different kind of start, so we got to know all of the kids so that we could be kind of on equal footing with all of the kids entering into kindergarten. So what the teachers did is the first 3 days, so like everyone else, kindergarten started on Tuesday, September 6th, and they came Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the first 3 days of school. And during this time, the kindergartners were just assigned a color. They weren't assigned a specific teacher because actually they were rotating amongst all of the teachers, getting to know all of our staff and also the staff getting to know the students. And when they were in the different areas with the different teachers, teachers were doing some observation and also some kind of quick assessments too of how these kids were doing in the areas of personal and social development, language arts and literacy, mathematical thinking, physical development, and then, of course, health and safety. So we were looking at those areas, and those are the areas that the early childhood indicators of progress, the IPSEs, are all based off of. So those are the developmental areas that our preschool teachers work on, and those are the areas that we should see if school readiness is happening in students. So those are the main developmental areas. So they looked at these areas for the first 3 days as they rotated between the classrooms to kind of get a feel of where our kids. And the purpose of this was so we could create more balanced classrooms. Once kids are done with kindergarten, we have data on the kids. We can put them in different classrooms based on their needs, based on their maturity and all of those things, so we hit their needs. When kindergarten comes in, typically in the past, we've gone, you're a girl, you're a boy, you're a girl, and we balance the classrooms that way. We don't look at maybe what their needs are in those areas. So by doing this, we were able to look at those needs quickly. Yes, we know 3 days, so you're not going to get a huge in-depth picture, but you get a good snapshot of the kids. And from that, we kind of took them all and then tried to balance so that we'd have 6 more balanced classrooms, so that our learning environments are kind of fitting the needs of our students. And the teaching styles are fitting more the needs of our students, so that we're looking at, does this student need more social needs or does he need more academic needs? We can fit and address those needs by doing this. Friday, the kindergartners were not in school, so the teachers had the time to divide them. And I sat in on most of that day with the kindergarten teachers, and the conversations, it was fabulous. I'm so very proud of our kindergarten staff right now, and as a school board, I think you guys should really know this. They have really taken the time to know each and every kindergarten student so we can start that student with just a strong start into school. We're taking them with what they know, maybe what they haven't had chances yet to experience, and looking at how can we best deliver education for them. And so they divided them. Monday, they got their classrooms ready, and right now they're having their back to school conferences with the parents. And so tomorrow will be our kindergarten's technically first day with their teacher that they're signed to for the year. So exciting. We'll see how it works as the year progresses, if we are better to match the needs and fit the needs of the students. But from the start, it's an exciting process. We sent notes out to parents in the summer so that they were aware of this. Parents that had called me through the summer were very supportive of the idea. They're like, well, that makes sense. You want to get to know my child. Thank you for taking the time to get to know my child. And that's what we've really been doing. So I'm excited to see how the year goes for them. And do you have any questions about our pilot start?
Just a comment, I think it was fantastic. I think, the only way that we're going to move the bar, improve the educational experience for the kids is to try some innovative ideas and keep trying and come up with those things that are really successful. And so kudos to all involved in this process.
Thank you. And kudos to the kindergarten team has worked hard over the summer. They've been meeting with me. We've been trying to figure out how do we do this and what do we do if they don't have an assigned teacher. And they've really thought through a lot. So I'm very proud to be their administrator today. Yay.
The thing, too, to point out to Mrs. Rosen is that, if I can recall, the kindergarten team actually started meeting in April
True.
to even talk about this. And in the last few days of school, I remember we were involved in a meeting. I think you had the social worker there and the dean of students, and you were there, I was there, all the kindergarten teachers were there, and they spent a whole day just putting together the concept, and that was in May.
Yep.
And then over the summer, they worked hard at this. But I was, when I listened to you, I really reduced this down to 6 words: student needs, teaching style, group dynamics.
Yep.
Student needs, teaching style, and group dynamics. Those 6 words really define what this kindergarten pilot project is. And you'll see when I distribute the enrollment reports tonight that the classes are pretty evenly spread. There's one class that's a little smaller because of the student needs and the teaching style. We felt that was very important. The whole goal, one of the 5 pillars of the world's best workforce is all students are ready for kindergarten. Well, schools aren't totally responsible for that. In a way, I wish the world's best workforce was all kids are ready for first grade, because then I think the schools could be held responsible, because getting all kids ready for kindergarten is somewhat of a school responsibility, providing the child comes to preschool, but it's really the parent and the community and the family to make sure that child's ready to go.
I'd like to add to your comments. I think those 6 words can be applied across the spectrum, K-12. Student needs, teaching style, group dynamics. Those are the keys that make for successful learning. And if we just realize and think about how we can can improve each of those elements, I think we're going to be more successful.
Are we going to have any checks as we go along through the season, as far as when we get to our trimester breaks, and have any kind of look, the word I'm looking for? Are we going to have a kind of a self-check to see the progress, if this is a worthwhile program as we're going along? I'm sure the feedback is constant, or at what point are we going to know that this is something that we would want to continue to do in the future, maybe, is the way I'm trying to ask it. Do we have a point at which we're going to look back at it and say, is this working?
And I do think it's an ongoing, the PLC papers that all of our teachers write, that'll be part of their reflection, I'm sure. We do the 3 times a year benchmark assessments, and those will start here in the next couple of weeks, so we'll get a good baseline of where they are. We can see how well did we divide them from just those checks from the classrooms, and then as they mature on, we'll see the growth, hopefully, that we've seen. And kindergarten's been making little changes throughout the year, and they've really made some significant growth in their academics they're delivering and how they're delivering them. So we'll be able to look at last year's data, this year's data, and see, are we moving them farther, and continuing on that process. And like always, we're always asking parents, please give us your feedback. Conference time will be a good time in November to kind of have maybe a little check with parents too, even a checklist to give them a survey of some sort. How do you feel the beginning of this year started? Did we fit your child's needs better? So those are all kind of still in the plans as we're rolling this
It's a work
out.
in progress, sure.
We were a little more worried about these first 3 days and then the 6 days and then tomorrow with really their big start. And then we'll continue to talk about that.
Yeah. The benchmarks, that's
Yep,
the word
the
I was looking for.
benchmarks will be done like before.
I'm also interested to know if you mentioned the gender balance, how you should pick a boy and a girl. Are the classrooms going to end up
When
way?
they went through, yes, that's how it started. We kind of laid the kids all out, and we did separate them, boys and girls, because if you're going to work on, the teaching style and the dynamics and the group pieces, a balanced classroom is also needed, equal number of boys and girls, and we did look at that as we were dividing out the kids.
Okay.
I want to thank you and the kindergarten teachers for being willing to think differently, and for you as an administrator to support the kindergarten teachers in this endeavor. It's not always easy to start something new and to get the support that you need, and so I do appreciate you as an administrator supporting these teachers.
You bet. Thank you. It's a board that supports me, so thanks.
I'm very, very eager to see how this goes, because I think it's a great idea.
Oh, good. That means I get to come back then.
We'll look
I
forward
will.
to it.
Thank
Anything
you.
else? Thanks.
Thank you. Superintendent Brown, your report and calendar?
Thank you. Look at the calendar first. We have a policy committee meeting scheduled for tomorrow in the district office at 4:30. And we do have a number of policies that are annual policies that we'll be reviewing. And I think we have 12 or 15 on the agenda. And then we also have a list of those that we'll be looking at a month from now, because we're going to start meeting every month. Rehearsals for the musical start tonight? Is that tomorrow? Not tonight. Last night. Okay. Rehearsals are going on. Next school board meeting is Tuesday, September 27. Wednesday, September 28 at 6 o'clock. We're going to have our first school board town meeting. That will be held at the elementary, at the media center. Good. Elementary Media Center at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, September 28th. And just a reminder that homecoming is on Friday, September the 30th. And then for the board's information, I have a packet of information that I think Judy distributed to you. The first is current enrollment. Right now, we have 894 students enrolled in the elementary and 797 in the high school, for a total of 1,691. Last year, when we ended the year, we had 1,696. Our smallest grade level going through the pipeline right now is our senior class. They have just 106 students. And looks like our largest class right now would be our 11th graders with 149 students. And we budget about 1,674. Is that correct? 1,677. So we have more students than we budgeted for, but we hope that we maintain that. The second sheet is just a reminder of where we were last year. You know, our student enrollment does fluctuate throughout the year. It goes up and down, kids are coming and going, but that's just a reminder of last year. The third idea in this packet that was distributed is a list of the elementary teachers and what teachers have how many students in each class. And you can see that our kindergarten class has 122. Our largest elementary class would be our third grade class with 137. But we tend to be 132, 135, 129, 137, 120, and 119 and 122. The next item that I included in your packet is a list of 8 teachers that have been hired since I came here that are Fairmont High School graduates. And some graduated as late as 2012, some in 2011, 2009, 1999, 2003, and 2007. But I just want to point out that we're very proud of the fact that we have Fairmont High School grads that are coming back into our community after they get their undergraduate degree to join our faculty. The next item is a big one. This is the list of all the current college classes that students can take at the high school. There are 3 different math classes, the AP Calculus, AP Stats. Computer Science is sometimes is listed as a math class, sometimes is listed as an elective. 3 different science classes, chemistry, physics, and human anatomy, physiology. In social studies, we have American history and world history. In language arts, we have English literature and speech. Art, we have ceramics and painting. And we also have a class that's offered, but right now no one signed up for it, but financial accounting with Holly Christian. And if you can see, if it says CIS after these, that means that students taking these classes can be awarded college credit under the MINSCU system, the Minnesota College and School System. And so they get automatic credit for that they can use. If it says AP, they can then take the advanced placement exam. And based on the college that they're going to, they'll either accept that college credit if they score a 3, 4, or a 5, and that's based on the college. Some colleges will accept a 4 and a 5, some colleges will accept a 3. But our students have the opportunity to earn over 50 credits. In fact, I was talking to one of our high school counselors today that Mrs. Schwieger's son is going to graduate early at the University of Minnesota in December because he's a half a year ahead because of all the college credits that he took when he was at Fairmont High School. So it's a great money saver for families and students that they can take all of these college classes here at our high school by our own teachers that are certified to teach the college. The other item I have in your packet is over the weekend I read, as you know, I read multiple newspapers, and I read a number of articles written by the Associated Press about whether schools in Minnesota were properly testing their water for lead. And I want to just share with the board and share with the public that we do a really good job at this. It's recommended that all schools in Minnesota test their water for lead at least every 5 years. And all of our units were tested. Any place a student or any time you would use the water for either drinking or cooking, those faucets are tested. And at the high school level, we had 53 items that were tested, 53 places, and at the elementary, 39 places. And when the test results came back in December 2004, there were 2 areas in the high school where the lead was higher than it was safe. And so at the direction of the Buildings and Grounds Department, working with the IEA consultants, they replaced the 2 faucets where this water was coming from. And when they retested them again in January, they came back safe. Actually, they were retested in February 24th of 2015. They came back safe. So the point of that story is that there are some schools in Minnesota that are not following the recommendations of the Environmental Protection Agency, but Fairmont Area Schools does a great job in working in conjunction with IEA, and that's the consultant that works with our air and water environment, and we're just in great shape with our water. Okay? And then finally, one of the board members asked about the new classes that are being taught, and in the last handout that I have the list of the 4 new classes at the high school that are being taught this year. Cadet teaching, Mrs. Wendy Tonner is teaching a class. In fact, I saw these students. They were in the elementary today. There were 20 students signed up for cadet teaching. These are students that are learning about the teaching profession, and hope that many of these people will consider going into teaching. The second class, Mr. Todd Segar is teaching a honors biotechnology class, and actually it's referred to as the anatomy and physiology class, and students can earn 8 college credits by taking that year-long class. There are 16 students currently enrolled in that class. If you flip the page over, the honors world history class, Mr. Brian Willey, he has his master's degree in history, and he is teaching the world history class. That's also a year-long class. 71 students have signed up for that class, so there are 3 sections taking that, and they can actually earn 4 credits and 2 credits each semester. And then the computer science principles class, Mr. Mark Hernus is teaching that new class. There are 15 students enrolled. That's an advanced placement class. So after students take that class, if they so choose, they can take the advanced placement exam, and if they score high enough, they can earn college credit. Okay, I'm going to take a breath. Any questions for me?
Any questions? Okay. I think it's exciting to see the new classes and our students that are taking advantage of those. Also exciting to see new teachers, or teachers that are employed in our district that are from Fairmont. We always want to bring families back. So thank you for compiling that list for us. Anything else for Superintendent Brown? Okay. Moving on to financial business. Sue?
Tonight on the agenda, we have the August 2016 Treasurers Report and single checks, the wire transfers from August 19th through September 8th, and the payment of the September 13th bills. So the first thing, you have a 2-sided document. One side says the August 2016 Treasurers Report. That's the cash balance report. So you can see at the end of the month cash balance by fund within each account. And just to remember the debt service fund, that large amount is because our bond proceeds are being held in escrow so we can pay off the other bonds. Again, then on the back side of that, you have the transfers and wires from August 19th through September 8th. Just a couple of things to note. Our August net payroll was $443,000. I had $3 million wired in from the liquid asset fund, and our P card payment amount was $11,483, and we'll get to those details here in a bit. Any questions? Okay. Then you have a single check register. There's just one check listed, so we just had one single check in August, and that was made out to the postmaster, and that was for a bulk mailing for food service. Then you have a register that starts with waste management, and that's the P card register. We do have 12 staff members that have P cards. Some things are monthly, like waste management bill, that's paid monthly with the P card. And other things that are paid with P card are like registrations, staff travel, some online ordering, some things like that. Any questions on any of the transactions? Okay, then we can move to the registered data today, September 13th. The very first one is made out to Day Plumbing and Heating. And the majority of that is for the removal and reinstalling sinks at the FACS lab at the junior senior high school. We use long-term facility maintenance dollars for that. Starting July 1 was when we were first able to start using those dollars. And then the next payment, check number 58,880, made out to Lee Sports. This again is using our long-term facility maintenance revenue, and it was for resurfacing and repairing on the tennis courts. And then check number 58,916 made out to Southern Plains. This was our final bill for the 15-16 school year from Southern Plains. Have any questions on that register? In Julie's absence, I was able to scan all of this to her, and she reviewed it. So, because normally we meet at 4:30 prior to the board meeting. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There are no questions. Danielle?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the August 2016 Treasurers Report and single checks, wire transfers for August 19th of 16 through September 8th of 2016, and payment of September 13, 2016 bills.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. There is no old business, so we'll move on to new business. Rufus, we have a memorandum of understanding.
Research was done, and it determined that the current stipend of $1,155 for robotics, for the robotics coach, was quite low in comparison to other schools, and so we were able to find some additional revenue that had been untapped, that was for kind of a home ec, kind of extracurricular activity that hadn't been used, and so the memo of understanding is required to get permission from the teachers union, because this is a contract issue, to utilize the funds in this manner. And so, and we've gotten approval from the teachers union, and so I'd make a motion to approve this memo of understanding to increase the robotics stipend from $1,155 to $1,976 for the 2016 school year.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Personnel, Rufus.
Resignations. Brenda Knoll has been hired as an English teacher for the current school year. Due to personal reasons, she resigned her position effective August 31, 2016. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resignation of Brenda Knoll as English teacher effective August 31, 2016.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Danielle. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries.
Another resignation, Beth Semp, a Title I aide, has resigned her position effective August 16, 2016. I make a motion to accept that resignation of Beth Semp as Title I aide effective August 16, 2016.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Employment.
Kim Niss has recommended that Jonas Nissen be hired as an English teacher to replace Brenda Knoll. Jonas holds a BA degree in secondary education, English from Concordia College, and a PhD in theater from Bowling Green State University in Ohio. He has experience teaching high school English in Rosemount, Apple Valley, and Shakopee. In addition, he taught several years at Bethany Luther College. Most recently, he was employed as the director of the Fairmont Opera House. I would like to make a motion to approve the employment of Jonas Nissen as English teacher effective September 6, 2016, at a salary of MA 27, step 10.
Thank you, Rufus. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Danielle. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
We received 20 applications for the new position of maintenance custodial employee. 6 candidates were invited to interview, and Tyler Garrison is recommending that Jared Herman be hired for the position. Jared holds a degree in auto body from Southwest Technical School in Sioux Falls. Most recently, Jared was employed as a painter at Whitmore's Painting and More. I'd like to make a motion to approve the employment of Jared Herman as a maintenance custodial employee effective September 19, 2016, at a salary of step 1.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries.
One more, a medical leave request. Missy Ox, first grade teacher, is requesting a medical leave beginning on or about November 4th and extending for approximately 10 weeks. I would like to make a motion to approve the medical leave request for Missy Ox effective on or about November 4, 2016, and extending for approximately 10 weeks or per medical recommendation.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Danielle. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to board committee reports. We'll start with Staff Welfare Committee. Rufus?
Okay, it was a long meeting. The first item was a update on the Q-Comp program for this coming year. And Q-Comp is the professional development program for the teachers. And staff welfare was updated on some changes that the QCOM administrative group was going to present to the SDC committee, Staff Development and Curriculum Committee, which they did on Monday, and it was approved. And so that will go forward. The resignations and employments were discussed, the robotics stipend. We looked at lane change information, several teachers who have done additional coursework, entitling them to a lane change, which basically is an increment in their compensation. And so that's a recurring theme as teachers secure more advanced training in their specialty. And a medical leave request, and then a lengthy discussion regarding just moving things forward in the school. We met, staff welfare had met with the high school principals at the end of the school year last year, and had asked a number of questions and clarification and asked for clarifications on a number of points. And we'd like to regroup with them and find out where we sit going forward for the beginning of the year. In regard to the need to ensure that our graduating seniors are college and career ready, we felt it important to get an update from our guidance program and see where we're at. Are our students getting all of the support they need to for making appropriate college and career choices? And do the counselors have all the resources they need? Are there opportunities to improve that process? So we'll be meeting with them, the counseling, the high school counselors in the near future. And in follow-up to the discussion that we had with the high school principals, staff would also like to have the same questions directed to the elementary school, and again, just find out where we sit with some policies regarding teaching. At one of the recent board meetings, there was some discussion about tutoring services, or what do we do about the kids at risk? How do we provide additional support for them? And so now, moving into the beginning of the year, one of the things that had been discussed previously was the idea of peer tutoring. And so we'd like to meet with the high school administration, maybe the elementary, and discuss ideas of how we could create an opportunity for peer counseling to serve not only the students at risk, but all students. And an important topic, we had a very important staff, student, and parent survey last year, and we have not had the opportunity to digest that, to understand what the results of that survey are, and how they can be incorporated into our strategic planning. And so we hope to do that, sit down with the school administration and have some discussions about that. There one of the things that was implemented last year was the Fast Pass Tuesdays, which was very successful in helping provide some additional support for students that need some catch-up work. And this year, apparently, all the high school teachers, we were told that all high school teachers should be available, before class in the morning. So we just want clarification of, is that, how that is working. We had a discussion about hours of involvement in extracurricular activity, both sports and humanities. There was some concerns brought forward last year regarding the kids just being overwhelmed, with a combination of, sports expectations and music expectations, and it seemed as though no one was keeping track of and making sure that there was ample opportunity for the kids to get their academics done. And so, staff welfare, supported the idea of, having a policy that kind of puts some guidelines in place to make it, to protect, some, important academic time for the kids. And so that'll be discussed at the policy committee tomorrow, I believe. And we will have multiple town meetings coming up to help, get input from the community as we go forward developing a strategic plan for the district. An item that was discussed toward the end of last year was an idea of, is there an adequate process in place for students if they would like to appeal a decision that's been made, whether it's an academic or a disciplinary decision, and so we did receive support from the school administration, the high school administration, to try to develop such an appeals process, and so we will be working further with the high school administration to try to develop that, to ensure that the students feel that they have a fair process to air their concerns when they arise. And we received an update on a new extracurricular activity this year, which will be a school dance team. This is still in the process of being put together. Do we have an update on coach yet?
There were 7 individuals that expressed interest in being the coach, but only one actually completed and submitted an application.
Okay.
And so I don't think that person's been named yet.
Okay, so that's still in the works. The funding for the dance team will be somewhat structured in the same way that that hockey and soccer were structured when they first started. They will be initially self-funded, and then moving forward as we analyze the success of the program, then we'll discuss whether or not it's appropriate for the district to help fund that process. And Superintendent Brown will be setting times for the school board members to meet with teachers. I can't remember the specifics of that.
You were looking for a teacher advisory committee.
Oh, right.
Right, and so I've talked to the principals about talking to their staffs to see if they could generate interest of teachers serving on an advisory committee to the board.
Right.
Meet and confer.
And that's a separate issue.
That's a different one,
right.
yeah.
And I've sent an email to Mrs. Forster about setting up some meet and confer dates.
According to school district policy,
Yeah.
we're supposed to be available for meet and confer 3 times a year.
All
So we
right.
need to start following that policy.
Right, and the teacher advisory group to the board, that's just an idea that has come forward and from some discussions with various teachers. I strongly support the idea. I think, greater communication, dialogue between the school board and the teaching staff directly will help, allow the school board to understand, what is happening, in the schools and better understand how the school board can support that effort. And then there was discussion about homecoming activities that, they oftentimes they seem to overshadow other forms of student success and accomplishment, and we just want to make sure that there's a balance between athletic accomplishment and success and non-athletic accomplishment, academic, humanities, and make sure that there's due recognition for success across the board.
And also a recognition of what homecoming is. It's a homecoming for the alumni to Fairmont, and to some way incorporate and bring our alumni back to Fairmont for that week and have various activities throughout the week that recognize people that have graduated from Fairmont High School and the contributions they're making to families and society in general now.
And in line with that, was a discussion about, we currently have the Athletic Hall of Fame for Fairmont High School. So the thought was, in order to honor all those that have graduated from Fairmont and gone on to success, do we need to create a parallel process, just
Alumni Hall of
Fame, for success in any type of realm. And I think that was it.
That's a good, I don't know if you did that all from memory or not. That was very good. It was a long
No,
meeting.
I had a very
Okay.
helpful sheet here.
When it comes to those Q-comp issues, Joe, that's not going to cause any problems with the budget, is it? As far as the change in Q-comp structure?
What's your definition of problem?
Well,
It's, when we analyze the situation, analyze the transition, the Staff Welfare Committee, as they met with leaders of QComp, it was decided that there was a budget gap, and to accommodate the budget gap, that the school district would come up with half of the revenue, and the teachers would decrease half of their expenditures. And so it was a pretty good compromise. It was something that was not in our original budget. It's something that we view as a one-time expenditure. And as QComp goes forward in the future, the QComp Management Executive Committee and teachers will have to decide how to do that in the future. But the main thing we wanted to make sure of is a huge transition between what we did in the past 5 years with QComp and what
Right.
we're doing this year with 3 full-time teacher coaches. And, it's interesting, I just read an academic article last week about the need for teacher coaches in lieu of teacher evaluations. And the research shows that teacher coaches are much more effective in working with their colleagues than just having another person come in or an administrator come in and do a 1 or 2 hour observation. So we felt so strongly as a committee, I think, that the change in the QComp was so important that we felt it was important to work with the faculty to make sure budgetarily that this current budget is balanced. And to do that, the school district will come up with some additional revenue. And the school district financially is in good shape.
When you say that it's balanced, clarification, you mean that the QComp budget is balanced?
Yes,
Which the district does, the QComp budget has always been used for QComp.
right.
It's separate from the school district budget. And
Right.
so the school district is willing to kick in some extra funds to help the QComp budget
Right.
be balanced.
Yeah, our district budget is absolutely balanced, and
Yes.
actually is doing very well.
Still will be.
Sue does a great job.
you also mentioned the guidance counselors, and information that I've read over that and what I've seen in the last few years. Even though recently the support from the state, as far as education funding has greatly improved, this is one area where the state is very much lagging, one of the worst in the nation in funding guidance counseling positions and things like that. So I would hope that perhaps in the future that we would get a little more assistance statewide with that, and that's something that could probably be brought up to your local legislators as well, because this would be a very valuable service and of great benefit to have more help to our students in this area as well.
You know, that's a good point, Dan, but, you know, in fact, Minnesota ranks 49th in the country. Mississippi is below us in terms of the number of counselors per students. However, what our district does do, we invest heavily in social workers. We invest heavily in deans of students. We have 2 full-time deans of students, we have 2 full-time nurses, and we have 3 full-time social workers. In some states, they don't have social workers, they don't have full-time nurses, they don't have deans of students. And so I think when you look at a comparison, if you're only looking at counselors, there's no question Minnesota ranks low. But I think when you look at the total support that we have in our district, we've made a concerted effort in our district to make sure that we have the services that our kids need. That's why we have 2 social workers at the elementary, a full-time nurse, and a full-time dean of students. And at the high school, we have a full-time nurse, 2 full-time guidance counselors, a full-time dean of students, and a full-time social worker. So that's a discussion, I think, as we have our strategic plans that we developed this year and have our town meetings. If we need to tweak that a little bit to move some people around, to maybe put more people over here and less people over there, I think that's a discussion that we should have as a community.
Right, and you know, Dan brings up a good point, and I think, you know, the first step is, you know, as I've suggested, you know, the staff welfare would like to meet with the counseling staff and find out where we're at. You know, what are the needs? You know, are there adequate resources? You know, what could be done? What is not being done? What is currently being done? And just making sure that, you know, that the students have all the resources to make, you know, this incredibly important decision of college and career.
Especially with what college is 4-year college costs these days, especially to get that good career advice, I think is a big piece that's really going to be important in the next few years. So,
President of the board just reminded me that the topic for the first town meeting that we're going to have, under the new federal rules of the Every Student Succeeds Act, which is a new federal legislation that takes the place of No Child Left Behind, one of the requirements is to have a town meeting to basically seek out information about what type of a school and what type of students do you want to see produced in your school system. That's a kind of a big topic to ask the community, but it's something that legislatively the federal government has required districts to do. So that's going to be our main topic, is that when you think about Fairmont area schools, what type of students do you want to have through the system, and what should they be like? And obviously that's going to tie in with the state legislation about having all students be ready for the college and career. So it should be an interesting town meeting. We expect lots of people and lots of ideas and lots of good open discussion.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, that was Staff Welfare Committee meeting report. Any questions or further discussions regarding that meeting? Okay, we'll move on to SDCC meeting. Rufus?
So, as indicated, SDCC, which is Staff Development Curriculum Committee, they did approve the changes for QComp. There was discussion about I believe it's October in-service day. You know, trying to figure out, you know, what that'll look like. There's a new process that's going forward to try to, in terms of developing a strategic plan, to try to analyze what are the important factors in student success, whether it's absenteeism, community attitude towards the school, a number of factors, and members of SDCC will be spearheading some of those inquiries, and then that information will be coming back to SDCC in, I think, 2 months.
You know, and one topic we talked about then too was attendance, and we've been drilling down to get more information about student attendance. On a daily basis, 95% of our students come to school. And when you hear that number, you think, wow, that's pretty good. You know, 95% of our, 95% of the time our kids, 95% of our students are in our schools on a given day. But that means that 85 students on a daily basis are not in our school. And when you drill down, so I had Mary Cole run a report for both the high school and the elementary that we're going to discuss tomorrow in detail at the cabinet meeting about the number of students that missed 15 or more days in the elementary and how many students missed 15 or more days in the high school. And the list is an interesting list to look at. And then the correlation we need to make now is what are the factors? Why are these students missing? And is it because of school-related absences, or is it because they're sick, or because they're simply not coming to school? And also, what's the correlation between the student success and closing the achievement gap? In fact, I talked to the MSBA today about our attendance policy that I'll brief the policy committee on tomorrow about, because they're getting more and more questions about if we're going to truly close the achievement gap in Minnesota, we need to get our kids to school. And September is National School Attendance Month. That's one of the things that we're known for here. And so just kind of a public plea to everybody that if you have children and if they're school aged and if they're enrolled in our school or the private school or any of our surrounding schools, do whatever you can to get them to school on a daily basis. Because we know that our top kids tend to come to school. And our kids that are falling behind tend to be the ones that have high numbers of absenteeism. And so obviously if you're sick, really sick, my mother always said if I was bleeding by both eyes, I could stay home. One day I was bleeding by one eye and asked if I could stay home, and she said no. I said both eyes. She was serious. And so I went to school that day. And we really need to encourage. By the way, in the last couple of weeks, we've had 2 different corporations visit our high school. And HR departments from Zerke and Waitronics both came out to our high school. And when we met with them, we asked them, what's the number one reason why workers wash out? Why do they get fired? Attendance. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't come to work. And so we need to instill in children, from preschool on up, that when you get signed up, come to school, because you're going to be expected to go to work. And that's important for a strong economy and a strong country. Amen. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So I think those
was
were
it.
the main topics of STCC.
Thank you. Any questions about SDCC? All right. Anything else to add to the discussion this evening? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the school board meeting at 5:51 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
Do you want to say, hey, Joyce? Joyce? You want to sign that?
Judy?
Yes.